Naveen Zafar.
Thank you. Did you know a recent study found that in the New York Times, Islam is portrayed more negatively than cancer? In the words of Dalia Mogahed, Islam is not a disease that countries need to unite to get rid of, but rather Muslims are a vital organ to society. And in my talk, I'll show you how that is. So I myself was 2 years old when I came to Canada. And with the media being my main source of information, even I bought into the negative portrayal of the religion. Being brought up in a Muslim household, I wore the headscarf, the hijab, and I prayed 5 times a day. But I was never spiritually engaged. Prayers were simply a form of meditation for me, something I did to escape the daily stresses of life. But last September, everything changed. I went on a pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia. I want everyone to close their eyes. Close your eyes and imagine waking up being your true, authentic self every day. To not have to cover up your insecurities or to mask your flaws, but to be so comfortable and confident in who you are that you felt genuinely happy, yet strong enough to conquer anything in the world. Imagine not being judged for the way you look, but for how you are as a person. Open up your eyes. What would you give to feel that way right this very moment? How about every day? Shockingly, Islam taught me to feel that way every single day. And this changed my perception of not only the religion, but also its contribution to the world. We're facing a problem. By focusing on the actions of select individuals, we're demonizing the very religion that focuses on bringing people together and helping those in need. There are extremists and groups of people in every culture, religion, community that are a threat to society, but by no means are those people an accurate reflection of everyone as a whole. What if we were able to connect with one another at a deeper level? What if, instead of focusing on judging, we were focusing on ensuring our neighbors were fed? Islam does that. So why not incorporate those very values into our own lives so we can all be successful and happy? Most of you here may not follow Islam, and some may not believe in religion or God altogether, and that's okay. What if we separated the religious aspects from the values that it stands on? That's what I'm asking of you today. When I was in Saudi Arabia, it wasn't the religious lectures, the organized activities, or the formal arrangements that I took part in that shifted my perception. In fact, it was the experiences and the interactions with the individuals that changed my perception. And there were 3 main reasons I fell in love with Islam: authenticity, gender equality, and community building. So although my pilgrimage taught me to feel comfortable with myself, there was a problem. When I came back to Canada, I became acutely aware of the same barriers of self-acceptance that existed here in North America. A couple months ago, I was running a workshop at a high school, and in the hallway, I saw a 15-year-old girl point to another girl and say, "Oh my God, she has a thigh gap, she's so lucky." I'm not sure if you're aware, but apparently it's a big deal to have a space between your legs, as if it was some sort of pedestal or achievement the student had reached. I cringe. This student was a straight-A student, top of her class, confident enough to stand in front of an audience of 500. Yet the thought that consumed her mind was that another girl was slimmer than her. What in some cultures appear as malnourished, for us North Americans, this seems to be an ideal that we aspire to fit. Our brightest young minds are exerting energy, wasting talent, on fitting this unhealthy ideal. We live in a society where we don't focus on what the person knows, but rather how they appear. But you know what? All of that changes with the abaya. So the abaya is the full-length body covering with the face visible. So like most of you here, I had the impression that women who wore the abaya were weak, uneducated, lacked skills, and so much more, aka oppressed. So when I put on the abaya for the first time, I was a little nervous. But as the loose, flowy garment touched my skin, I felt like a princess. I didn't feel the need to be superficial. I could be my true self. It shifted my priorities. Instead of focusing on accessorizing and clothing every day, I could focus on who I wanted to be as a person. With the abaya, it's difficult to judge someone based on their appearance because everyone looks the same. Everyone's on the same level. It promotes equality. It removes the divide between the rich and the poor. It allows one to feel comfortable with themselves because you can't tell if the person in front of you has a thigh gap or not. Like most of you, I felt that Muslim women were weak, they didn't have a voice, they lacked passion, interest, and they were highly dependent on the men in their lives. Even poor David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK, fell into the trap of the media and referred to Muslim women as being traditionally submissive. Based on my experience, boy, was he wrong. In Islam, men and women are equally encouraged to seek knowledge. So generally speaking, both genders have different strengths and weaknesses. So think of it like a team where everyone is contributing equally, but in different ways. So among many traits, men tend to have more physical strength, and women tend to be more nurturing. So kind of like a team, these are things that we pride ourselves on at work and in school. But despite their differences, they're viewed equally in the eyes of God, and they're equally encouraged to become well-balanced individuals. And Islam teaches that through 3 ways. 1, education. 2, community involvement. And 3, childcare. So just like how a woman has a responsibility to be involved in the community that she lives in, a man is equally responsible for helping raise the children. And no, that does not mean just providing the income. As Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, states, in our society, women tend to work 2 to 3 times the amount as the men. In Islam, gender roles are a lot more balanced. But Islam doesn't stop there. It takes it one step further because balanced gender roles are only a part of the equation. It's about having a responsibility towards one another and the community that you live in. So on to point number 3, community building. Islam has a built-in reward system that encourages positive interaction with one another. So think of it like a karma point system, where you get points for doing good deeds and points are taken away for doing something negative. So you go about your day collecting these points. Things like visiting a sick person, greeting someone, and helping one another will all get you points. And these points are meant to help you in your current life, as well as are your ticket to heaven. So the week we came back from Saudi Arabia, my sister came home from a 10-hour shift at work. She was exhausted, hungry, yet she took off her shoes, ran up the stairs, pushed open my room door, and said, "Assalamu alaikum there." I said, "At first I get double the amount you did." In Islam, if you are the first person to greet someone, you get 2 times the points as the person to respond to the greeting. So yes, these points are designed to help you get to heaven. But wouldn't you agree that if we incorporated these values into our own lives, our lives would be more fulfilling, our societies would flourish, the world would be a better place? Imagine, instead of speed walking past someone you know, trying to dodge them, we're running up to strangers to be the first to greet them. To greet them, make eye contact, acknowledge their presence. So because my sister has now acknowledged me and she's taken the time to greet me, and she's within a certain physical distance, of course I respond to her. We chit-chat about our days. And because she's now taken that time, if there's anything I'm struggling with, I'll open up. I'll share my challenges with her. And she'll listen, offer words of encouragement, be supportive. It's that very sense of belonging that brings us together. That one greeting will lead to a conversation. That conversation will allow me to be happier, healthier, and feel like I belong. In Islam, we're all thought of to be as part of one big family. So we refer to each other as our brothers and sisters. So just like in a well-functioning family, if someone asks you for help, you wouldn't turn them away. Similarly enough, in Islam, if someone comes to you in need and you have the means to help them and you choose to do otherwise, points will be deducted. There's a saying that says, you are not a true believer if your neighbor goes to bed hungry while you sleep with your stomach full. Because you have the means to help them and you are choosing to do otherwise, this will deduct points, making it more difficult for you to get to heaven. But think about it. Aren't these all values we aspire to have in our own lives? There are individuals in every country and race that are focusing on their own agendas. But if we are separating the teachings from the culture, we don't have the right to criticize the religion. We need to focus on the individual. Last month, a friend and I were interviewed for our school newspaper. Kyle, the name of the rep, wanted to feature our Muslim club in the upcoming issue. So he came out to one of our meetings, introduced himself, sat down, and began to observe. He listened. He was intrigued by learning about a new faith. And as we presented material, he discussed, raised a lot of questions, but came in with an open mind. And as he was leaving that day, he said, if it's one thing that I've learned, it's that you guys are all about helping each other. And he insisted on staying behind and helping us rearrange all the tables and chairs so that we could all leave together as a group and nobody would be left behind. Imagine a world where instead of judging, we focus on understanding. We need more people like Kyle, people who are wanting to understand and embrace versus judge and segregate. People who are wanting to submerge themselves in that environment and see things for themselves instead of how the media or someone else portrays it. People who question. People who want to understand. We need people who are inclusive to not only Muslims, but everyone. Thank you.